business, and this is why you're doing it, and here's the new direction, you're trying to help me out. So we actually, I mean, I don't say we had a pleasant experience because it was the most fun thing ever to do, but it was generally well executed. We didn't have, aside from Digital Bob, who remains a legend, and you know, there you go. And if he's in the crowd, I'm going to run.
So instead of trying to scare away or otherwise get rid of your customers, why don't you just sell the part of the company that you no longer are interested in? Because I imagine that there are companies that really want to be in the space that Visual Bookshelf is in, that would love to expand there if, you know, IMDb wants to add some book
There are
thing.
other book sites that
there are other book sites that would want to buy your customer list. Why not do that instead of just leaving it stranded?
So there are a couple of technical reasons that make it complicated. There's also sort of an effort answer, which is we're busy.
Yeah.
We're working on other things that we care about. We think our new ideas are going to outperform anything we could have sold this at. We've got better things to do. I know that sounds bad, but it's kind of true.
Yeah, the reality is, I mean, I think oftentimes there's this misperception that, okay, you built this thing, and it's this, you know, atomized, sellable unit. We had a whole platform, and we had people like, I'll take it, I'll take it. We have people sending us like all kinds of crazy stuff, and the reality is we have hundreds of machines running all these servers. We have to train you to do it. The cost of selling it, it's actually cheaper to shut it down.
Just the time, it's not like 2 days to sell a company. Maybe the lawyers know better than we do.
No.
Like selling a company is like tons of lawyers, tons of paperwork, and then all the technical migration that would suck myself and my team away from building our core idea. There's not that many of us. Like, and how much are we going to get? Plus all the opportunity costs that we've now lost to now spend on our new idea.
We had exact same issues
dude,
these
but
guys.
like, there's nothing I can do. Like it's still, you can still use the app.
Sometimes you can.
It's still there.
It's all circumstantial. I think you have to evaluate the opportunities. And look, end of the day, the way I look at it is, and when I look at our team, so we have an exec team and we have a meeting every week, and I look at it and say, okay, we have like 2 hours to spend together every week where we're like together. Do I want to spend 50% of that time dealing with basically a sale that's non-return on investment? Or do I want to spend that 50% of the time on something that's going to generate 1,000% return? And so to his point, it boils down opportunity costs, and those are the decisions as an entrepreneur you guys are going to have to make every day, which is like the most important ask you have, no matter if you're small or big, is going to be how do I spend this hour? And you have to put it at the highest value point every time, and unfortunately, sometimes that's not at that particular use case. I can painfully tell you about that.
One other question?
So it sounds like a lot of the pivots y'all mentioned, you're seeing new opportunities that you think are bigger than what you were working on. What about pivots that were more based on finally realizing something wasn't working? So like either I see that this, like either for sales or product or whatever, or you know, people are willing to use it but not pay for it. What are maybe some examples of those scenarios? I mean, I certainly see like, oh, the bigger opportunity, all right, it's easy to drop what we're doing. But it's a little tougher when you're in something and you're like, oh, I need to stop this, it's not working, you just go find something else.
It all depends on, you know, it's math, right? So there's a simple equation. You look at, you know, so someone asked the question like, how do you deal with the fact that you raise money and you have investors? Well, I'll give you the simple answer. It's what's your burn rate, how much cash you have left in the bank, and that's how much time and flexibility you have and how mad and pissed off your investors are going to be. Because your goal is, you're going to have ups and downs in between raises or whenever you're profitable, whatever those sessions are. The question is like at the end of each of those bookmarks, which is raise 1, raise 2, whatever it is your evaluation higher, right? So all the crap in between, that's like the myth, the story, like no one knows about that other than inside the company, right? But the key is that your investors and everyone's going to look at is at those bookends, is it higher and higher and higher and higher? To the extent, to answer kind of what you were saying, I don't think it's any harder or any easier. Either change you're going to make, because both involve actually the exact same amount of effort and the exact same communication patterns to some extent. And you think it's like a better opportunity, but I guarantee, you know, these guys took a bet, but like, you know, you don't know. Like when we changed our direction, we looked at it like I can sit there with an MBA lens and be like, oh, it's $1 billion market, this, that, and the other. Who knows if your team can really pull it off? So like it's just as scary, you know, to some extent. Now if you have no clue what you're doing, finding the next thing, that's a pretty scary situation. I guess that's a whole nother, you know, how many of these do you want to go?
The idea is so not important. It's about the execution.
Yeah.
And it's been proven time and time again in the industry, not only tech, in other spaces. It's all about execution.
That's actually one of my questions about your JSIO then. Sorry to keep bringing it up, but if, for example, if just getting it out there and test it, if it isn't executed properly, then if you fail and you make a pivot based on something.
Let me back up JSIO with some insurance, which is really you can only thanks. So you can only do JSIO if you can do that 100 times in a row. Right? You can't just do it and walk away and you're done. You can only do that if you're iterating at a rate of every hour.
Right, okay.
If you're pushing code to production 50 times a day, you can JSIO. Because between 11 and 12, you're going to learn something. Between 12 and 1, you're going to learn something else. Right? So it's not, it doesn't work once.
Yeah.
And it's the same whole truth, like to spend a month making it perfect and then setting it right.
Yeah, I would never.
Like we were, for instance, we're religious about optimizing all of our tools distribution. So when you go, our main product add this, like we get now like 1.4 to 1.6 million unique developers that go to the site, pick up the tools. There's a science. There's like a whole team that all they do is look at the numbers all the time, and they're figuring out, okay, I'm gonna try this homepage, this homepage, just to make sure that like they get the code. Like you seriously, like when they're trying to optimize every percent. So his philosophy there, it's like, look, we're actually going to spend more time debating whether or not this should be orange, red, green, how big the thing is. Just freaking build the damn thing and then be it.
Right.
Like, so to that extent, I would totally agree. That's why he's a TO.
Yeah.
Tim has to be.
Yeah. The other people in my company can talk about stuff. I don't want to talk. I just want to do. I know that sounds wrong, but it's true. I mean, there's people smiling in the back of the room that I've worked with in previous companies. Like, I don't like meetings. Because I don't think meetings are about building products and like doing things for consumers. I think meetings are about people arguing about what you should do. In reality, if you stop talking and you build both of them, you would have known which one you should have done, right?
We should move on to Hooman then.
Sorry.
All right, yeah. My story is shorter, maybe less elegant. ClearSpring, when we started out, the company, and you know, one of the points they made, which is awesome, is like, so he told you about the 4 big pivots, and all of us probably have our PR version of the story where we can tell you the nice elegant one makes us look really smart, but there's all these things that you do internally along the way, which are like the big things that no one knows about that you try. So I'll kind of give you the PR version only for brevity, and you can feel free to pummel me for the harder questions. So ClearSpring started out, we were very focused on connecting publishers and advertisers to audiences on social networks. So when we started out, MySpace was like the centerpiece. There were all these social networks. And all these different publishers were deathly afraid. Big publishers like the NBAs of the world, the Maxims, whatever. So how do I get involved with this, right? And so the thesis was, let's build some way that they can syndicate their content into these sites, and then they'll have some controls over it. So actually making the publisher empowered in an environment where content was just flying around, no metrics. Like, you gotta understand, now everyone wants to get in the Facebook feed. It was completely opposite. I literally went to Maxim magazine, sat down and told them that they wanted to be on MySpace, they wanted to get their stuff on MySpace, and they said, there's no way we're ever going to do this. Our core metric is page views because we make money off people coming to our site. Why would we ever do this? I was like, okay, great.